This is the Todd Shapiro Show on Canada Talks, SiriusXM 167.
Craig Bromell from 3Sixty Secure, 3Sixty Secure Corp. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, Todd. How you doing, man?
Well, you want the honest answer?
Sure.
Because everyone always asks how you. I have to tell you, and I was excited to talk to you today, and a little bit away from all the business right now of 3Sixty Secure, which we'll do a little catch up with in a second. But the campaigning and our political leaders, I got to tell you, across the board are frustrating me, and I just hate. I really do. I hate the example it sets, what leaders set to our youth, because they're all dicks.
You know what? It is very disappointing. They televise these debates, and that wasn't a debate the other night, especially with 6 people up there. And they're not debating anything. There's a lot of grandstanding. I don't know how long the debate was, but half of it was they were talking over each other. We couldn't understand what they're saying anyways. And outside of the debate, there's nothing new. There's nothing earth-shattering that's happening. It's going to be a very confusing election this year as to who to vote for. I've said it before. I think the best situation right now for the country, I don't know who would be in power, but it'd be a minority government. Keeps everybody honest. I'm very concerned about a majority right now for anybody, because there's just so much catching up to do. We're in a bad state of affairs. Everybody says we have the best system in the world, but it's not proving it right now. It's very disappointing. It's how anybody would take an interest in this that's just starting out. Like you mentioned, the young people. It's just like it's confusing for us, and we've been around a while. You're late teen, 20, 21-year-old. Why you would think of getting involved with some of the shenanigans, and it's very disappointing.
In your experience, traditionally, do former police members or people high up in the police departments, do they end up making good politicians?
Well, I am a conservative. Law and order. For that, there have been some that have got involved, both from a conservative and a liberal, running for the conservative and liberals. I've never known a police officer or law enforcement to get involved with anything left wing because of mainly the law and order issue. But it's gone both ways. Some have been really outstanding, and some have been very disappointing because at that point it's your personal beliefs. So it really is a flip of the coin.
I ask only because I imagine within police departments there is sort of this respect, at least, and maybe I'm wrong, but of kind of not just hierarchy, but over those little things you talk about, kind of slandering one another or talking over one another, like kind of the simple things in life. I feel like it's within the organization itself, there's a respect there to be a police officer on any level, and I feel like there's not any respect from other politicians to be a politician on any level. Am I making any sense, Craig?
No, I think you make absolute sense. Look at the situation we have right now. We can't ignore the fact of what Trudeau's going through with the racist incidents, and they were racist incidents. He admitted to it. He did apologize. But here's the problem with that. If somebody comes up in the same situation or anything where they're accused of being racist, and they apologize right off the bat, pretty much they're going to get away with it now. You have the leader of the country. It's just an apology. I blame the media, haven't stayed on this, because look further into it. It wasn't that long ago. And then you find different people running for the Conservatives. There have been some racist tones in the past also. So it is very disappointing on that. But being the Prime Minister, the buck stops with you. And very disappointing that this hasn't taken on more of a life, because you really want to know the person, whether he or she is running your country, what they're really made of. That's what this whole any election is all about. And, I saw after the last debate, he was asked about certain things, like even just a matter of fact of, have you called any leaders in any African nation, Spanish nation? Have you called anybody? He totally ducked the question So obviously he hasn't, because it is embarrassing for us. It's embarrassing. I don't know if you read the global newspapers. I do, and it was terrible, and it looks upon all of us. So that should be a big part of this election, and it's not. Now, saying that, there have been some issues with Conservatives also in the past, and they have been left accountable, whether they've been removed or not. For Trudeau still to be, I mean, it's very hypocritical, but it's not just that. It's hypocritical of his own party to allow this to continue on. There's no doubt it happened multiple of times. And Todd, you and I, we would never put ourselves in a position like that, painting ourselves, making us look, African Canadian or whatever it was. We just wouldn't do it. We know that would be wrong. And obviously he didn't.
I'm completely with you, man. And I don't know if you saw the PR release they did. I don't even know where they did it. I just saw it on Twitter, or not a release, but like the video of him talking to two young African Canadian children. Did you see that?
No.
Do we have the clip here? Zach, you have it? Can you grab it for Craig Bromell? Okay, Zach's seen. I'll set up the situation, then he can play the clip for you. Basically, he was sitting down. I only saw the 2-minute version, so I don't know. Like, it was almost like he was in a classroom or something. The girls, I don't know, probably couldn't have been any older than 10 years old or something. And they basically asked him the questions about doing it that he ducked out of, like you said, after the debate the other day. So have a listen to this. And I got to tell you, I'll just, Craig and anyone listening, this to me, it really is heinous to use sort of children as props here to try and get a message across. Have a listen.
And so, Laura, do you want to stand up and ask a question?
Why did you paint your face brown?
Ooh, it was something I shouldn't have done because it hurt people. It's not something that you should do, and that is something that I learned. I didn't know it back then, but I know it now, and I'm sorry I hurt people.
But did you paint your nose and your hands brown?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it was the wrong thing to do.
What do you think of that?
You're right. Using a child as a prop, that's pretty outrageous, to be honest with you. That's pretty low. I mean, it's very disappointing. Now, is that just in the last couple of days?
Yeah, that came out like I saw it this morning when I woke up, and I thought it was a parody. Then I thought it was I actually thought it was CG. I'm like, did they just put his face there with a question or something? This is a real clip. I still don't know the source of it, but it's an actual clip. It's now got probably hundreds of thousands of views. At the time, I only saw it only at a few thousand. And I'm in awe of it. And especially he does say the line there where he says it was something I didn't realize I shouldn't have done or whatever. I'm paraphrasing. Yet he knew. I felt like he even lied to the children in that part. You know what?
It's very hypocritical. And there's two sets of rules now, because saying somebody that's really bad, somebody that's a real bad racist, and they get caught doing something, and if they get up and apologize right now, then they're going to get away with it. And that's just the black community. It's the Jewish community. It's any community out there that if they do something that's insulted to the community, and you get up and apologize now, you can't go any further with this now. The leader of our country did it. Yeah. Whether he's sincere or not, it set something up for the future of people that are really nasty, racist individuals or groups. And this is why it's not being talked about more, because of that, because of what we've started now, or what he has started now. And I blame the Canadian population too. I mean, they've accepted this. The hypocrites of the African Canadian organizations, the other groups have not come out. B'nai B'rith, these people, I haven't seen anything. Jump on this and put a stop to it, because if the leader of our country is doing it and he gets away with it, I don't think there's any community out there safe right now.
Yeah, it definitely sets a precedent. I never thought of it that way. Craig Bromell is with us from 3Sixty Secure. As you know, we do the show in the 3Sixty Secure studios working together, which is great stuff. We'll switch focus a little bit because it's so depressing thinking about where we're at. Let's talk about the business of 3Sixty Secure and how things are going over there.
Things are going well. We're a security company. Who obviously we transport cannabis. We do other security, We're one of the security companies for the LCBO. We've done really well, and it's very exciting times. It would be even better if we could get some cooperation from the government and the decision makers to take the transport side more serious, and to bring in more opportunity for people to legally purchase the product. That's not happening. Again, we don't have, we have a couple of dozen stores in the province of Ontario, so the black market's thriving still. It's very, very frustrating for us, as it should be for the legal store owners who are trying to make a business of this legitimately. They're up against the black market. So it's still frustrating. We're trying to do the best we can under those circumstances, but I wish the federal government and the provincial governments would take more of a role in fighting the organized crime side of this. 75% of the industry is black market in the cannabis world, and that is, nobody really has a chance on that. Excuse me, that where we can make a go of this. That was the idea, is to legalize the product and then get rid of the black market, get rid of the people, the shady people that shouldn't be in the industry. And really the opposite's happened since last October. Very disappointing.
And back to the campaigns, you don't hear anything about it either. And I think a lot of people say, my goodness, I voted for Trudeau last term because, well, he was going to bring cannabis legal. And granted, it's created over $8 billion to Canada's GDP. Obviously, there's been a lot of success out of it. There's been, some great companies formed from it, and I would say 3Sixty Secure would admit that fully, that they owe a great deal of the business to it being a legal thing, and a great business at that, in my opinion. But where is the talk about what's happened since? Like, hey, we rolled it out. What are the reports on it? Good or bad? Some job growth, but yet still too much, organized crime within it. I'm surprised Scheer hasn't gone on him to say, hey, listen, I want to continue this being legal now, because I don't think they'd ever overturn it. But if we're going to do it, let's go all in, make it fully legal here, and not allow this shady business, as you speak of, Craig Bromell, to continue. Are you surprised we're not hearing about it at all?
I am, because it turned out to be a very popular product. Millions of Canadians are using it one way or another with a medicinal rec. The edible is about to come out. So, yes, I am. And I think that the overall scope of this, there's ways of controlling the product. And it's disappointing that, vast majority of the licensed producers out there, the people that are growing it, very good business people, very smart, trying to make a go of it, but they're up against it. Right now, the legal product per gram is just over $10 to go and buy it legally. Black market's just over $5. That is total. I put the whole blame on that on the different levels of government. That you never have a chance to make it. Now, so let's compare it to beer. You buy a beer legally for $5, but then you can go to thousands of locations and buy it for $2.50, that same bottle of beer. But nobody would put up with that. That would be stopped right away. So that is a very legitimate comparison. And it's not just going to your buddy's basement to buy a beer illegally for $2.50. You go to these apps, and there's thousands of these locations out there you can go to in your neighborhood, wherever you are right now, wherever your studio is. You go to a certain apps, you'll find a couple of dozen, 3 dozen locations within walking distance to go buy illegally, go buy the product, the cannabis. So, and there's no effort being put into supervise it. And I use supervision because, everybody's, with me, they're going to say, okay, you just want to lock everybody up, do this, do that. No, there's a number of ways we can control the illegal side of this. And there's some real nasty people involved in the black market with this also. So, compare it to beer, where you don't have to go to the beer store or liquor store anymore. You can go to an app, find thousands of locations in the city of Toronto where you just go and get it for half price. The governments aren't going to be putting up with that.
Yeah, just in terms of if you're running a business, like you said, and there's competition that would be illegal, you would do everything in your power to say, hey, how can the illegal competition continue to exist? This is a sort of a common chat with us, Craig, but it's ridiculous, it's insane, and something needs to be done to crack down on the black market. I want to ask one other question, because me, I'm a creative guy. I always have these, interesting ideas ideas, usually when I'm showering, by the way. I don't know why that is, Craig Bromell. But we all know about the gun problem, especially here in the city. And so far, 30 of the 53 homicides involved firearms. Over the last 15 years, guns have been the most fatal weapon in the city, used in 52% of all homicides and accounting for over 500 deaths. It is just terrible. And I thought to myself, because we all know, and people don't want to talk about this, but the difficulty it is for police to do their job based on the fact that this carding, which was an approach that used to be done to not abuse or exploit, but to, just to question those that you would feel are suspicious, and trained police officers, were doing that. It can't be done. So you can't, and you've told us this on the show, police officers can't really do their job with those that they really expect are holding illegal weapons. I thought to myself, and it sounds so silly, is there any way you could partner with like one of these camera companies and give everyone free security cameras? Because that, I would imagine all these new great cameras with apps and everything help crack down based on evidence that you could find through all these, the home cameras now that everyone has outside their doors and on the front lawns and stuff. Is that a ridiculous idea?
No, well, it's not, because I'll be honest with you. There are, you walk down, you leave your studio after you do your show and you walk home or you drive home, you're going to be under video several times. They're everywhere right now. And here's the other problem. The people that are involved in the shootings, like just some horrific situations, they know the cameras are up. Because if you watch the 6 o'clock news, you're seeing them, and they know the cameras are up. There's been several of them that have been horrific, and the bad guys, the people that are pulling the triggers, could care less.
Jeez,
they just not that doesn't intimidate them, because go to YouTube and punch in shootings on video. There's thousands of them, and these thugs, these people that don't really care, they don't look at life the way we do or your listeners do, could care less. They don't care about the video up there. This is going to be tough love. This is the only way this is going to be fixed, and you have to give the police more powers, or we just put up with it. I've said it to you before on your show. I think people are getting numb to it. As long as it doesn't affect your family members, and as long as it's in some other neighborhood, I could care less. And I think that's what definitely that's what the politicians are thinking. I shouldn't say all of them. I think the majority of them. There are some that are trying to do something here, but they're up against it. But the people pulling the triggers don't care if the video cameras are up. And really, Todd, to be honest with you, they're everywhere now anyways.
Okay.
Every storefront, wherever you're working right now is going to have security cameras up, and wherever it is. So it's already there. But these people pulling the triggers could care less.
Is that another thing? Great answer. I never thought of that either. That they just live life different than most of us, where it's almost like, oh, geez, I was thinking some of them might even like the fact that they were caught on camera doing it, which would be scary. Do you think that's another thing that we're not hearing enough about from our politicians, and including this federal campaign about the guns in this country, the illegal guns in this country?
I think from the middle, if you're a politician from the middle to the left, your constituents, you can't win on this, because, whether it's privacy issues or you don't want to bring in a police state, neither do I. I'm not talking about that. You can't win, so they're not going to talk about it. They're going to talk about the long term, more jobs, better community service, all this kind of stuff. That's great down the road. But the problem is right now. What do we do now? Like, what do we do tonight? Because there's going to be more shootings tonight in this city or in the GTA or the province of Ontario. There's going to be multiple shootings from now till Sunday. But everything they're talking about, we're going to see the effect of it, 2 to 3 years down the road. Nothing like, Toronto's put more officers out there. What they're doing is they're showing the flag. They're getting as many officers in uniform and in the scout cars to drive around. I mean, they can't talk to anybody, but they're just showing the flag to tell the bad guys we're out there. I think they've made like hundreds of arrests, but it hasn't dented it. It hasn't made a difference. So this is an even bigger problem. And I think, unfortunately, I can only speak for the city of Toronto here, or maybe the GTA on this one. We have become numb to it. I think that the decision makers haven't given up, but they just don't see any way out of this other than really just to bullshit the crowd and say, we're bringing in more jobs, we're doing all this stuff. that's really soft, fuzzy talk that's going to help us down the road, but it's not going to help us today.
Craig Bromell, we always appreciate your time. Again, you were the director of the National Association for Professional Police and the director of the Canadian Police Association, and now a part of the 3Sixty Secure Management Team, keeping everything safe. Publicly traded company, and full disclosure that I work with, have compensation from. I never give financial advice, but I love the management team, and I do love the company. I'll debate that with anyone all day long, especially when we get time from a guy like Craig, as much as we do here on the program. We appreciate it, my buddy.
Thanks, Todd. All the best.
Cheers. Craig Bromell, everyone from 3Sixty Secure. And yeah, that's how it works for me sometimes. Again, I always like to do full disclosure. There are companies I work with that are publicly traded. So sometimes when you work with companies and you work as a sponsor, you get paid, quite frankly. That's how influencers get paid a lot of the time. Sometimes you can even get paid in stock because you believe in a company and you want that to do well. So there's a lot of business behind that stuff. And, I always like to, anyone can ask me any question. I'm a very direct guy with all this sort of stuff. So again, when you talk about companies that you might be compensated from, I just want to make sure that people know I can't give financial advice. I'm always very, very, very candid about that. Don't always do your due diligence on any company, anywhere, even if I'm not talking about it, if someone else is talking about it. Make sure you do your due diligence. Don't take financial advice from people who can't give it to you, is my point.
This is the Todd Shapiro Show on Canada Talks, SiriusXM 167.